You might be one of many people finding themselves having to work remotely these days and finding that shift a little bit difficult. You might be struggling with motivation or feeling isolated from your team, or maybe having a hard time keeping that work-life balance as your home has now become your office.
So if that sounds like you and you're going a little bit crazy working from home, you're going to want to keep watching this video because we've been a remote company for 10 years and we're going to share with you today our best tips for working from home so that you don't go crazy. I'm Christy.
And I'm Mike, and welcome back to our channel where we love sharing tactical tips and best practices that will help you level up your small business.
So if you want to take your small business to the next level, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get more videos like this one. And let us know in the comments below, do you love working from home or do you really miss working in the office?
You might be struggling a little bit making this transition from working in the office to working at home. There's a lot of challenges that come along with this shift, and it takes some time to get adjusted. I know, don't worry, we're here to help you. We've been there, and we got some great tips to help you along the way. Some of the things that you might be struggling a little bit are motivation and distractions. At home, there's a lot of things that you don't have to normally worry about when you're concentrating on your work at the office. You have kids, pets, the TV, all the chores at home. All these things can sort of pull down your motivation and distract you from staying focused on the things you need to accomplish on a daily basis. You might also start feeling a little bit isolated from your team. In the office, you're able to see them every day, work with them, have lunch with them, continue to have this great rapport, and that takes a little bit of effort to maintain once you've working from home. You don't want to lose that, so you need to think of some strategies, and we have some for you that will help you continue to communicate effectively with your team. You might also be struggling a little bit with your home life balance. As you work from home, your home life and your work life sort of mesh together and they can become one, and you need to be very deliberate about keeping them separate, because if you don't, you're going to feel like you're working all the time, and that can lead to burnout.
So all of these challenges that Mike's just talked about are things that everybody experiences when they're first working from home. I've struggled with these challenges. Mike, I know you have. So don't feel discouraged if you're feeling in this boat. It's totally normal. Everybody feels that way. It's something that's new and it takes some time to adjust. We've made the transition gradually working from home, and it's taken time. It's taken a lot of experimenting, figuring out what does and what doesn't work. So we hope by the end of this video you have at least a couple of really important key takeaways that you can apply and really learn how to love working from home, because there's so many benefits. Once you get over some of those hurdles, it becomes more natural and smoother, and you really can learn to enjoy and appreciate all the great things that come from working from home. So let's jump into our top tips for working from home.
Tip number one is to shower and get ready for the day as you normally would when you're going into the office. It can be very easy to fall into this trap of rolling out of bed and going straight to the laptop and getting down to work. I fell into this trap all the time. I actually was kind of famous for showing up for early morning video conference calls, still wearing my house robe. Christy, thank you very much for shaming me out of that. I think it's important for work-life balance to do the normal kind of activities you would when you're getting ready to go into the office. It sets your mind up. It tells your mind that, hey, this is a work day and you need to be productive and get down to the tasks at hand. Another tip I heard from somebody was that they take it one step further. They actually leave the house in the morning. They'll put their shoes on, then they'll put their coat on, they'll pack up their work bag, and they'll go for a walk around the block. And they found that when they came back in the house, their mind was ready to get productive and get down to the things they had to do that day. So this is very important for helping you build that separation between home life and work life. And it's also a great tactic for driving motivation and getting your mind ready for the workday ahead.
Sorry, Mike, for shaming you about wearing your house robe. I've also had people make comments when I show up to meetings with my hair all frazzled in a mess, or I'm still wearing my pajamas. But I think through trial and error, I have learned that it definitely does make a big difference. I used to roll out of bed and be working in my pajamas, and I definitely noticed that by the afternoon, I just felt like a slob. I felt low motivation. I felt like I was just ready to go for a nap because that's what I was, dressed and ready for. So once I started being disciplined about showering, getting ready, even if it's just quickly, I noticed that I feel better and more ready to start the day. So I definitely recommend spend just a little bit of time, brush your teeth, comb your hair, get ready so that it helps you feel mentally ready and prepared to start your workday.
Tip number 2 is to set yourself a schedule and a routine for your day, similar to how you would have when you're going into the office. You'd have to be in the office usually at a certain set time. People would be expecting you. That builds the accountability to start your workday. And then similarly, at the end of the day, you just naturally have to go home. You're not going to stay at the office all day long. So you have this natural separation and you get home to your home life and you do your things in the evening. So when you're working from home, you have to be deliberate about it in the same kind of way. You need to set a schedule. You need to say, I'm going to start work at 9 and I'm going to end at 5, and then build a routine around that day so that you don't have to think about it as you're going through the motions. In the morning, some people find it very challenging to get that ball rolling, get going on your work day. So setting that time at say 9 o'clock and then building your routine around it. You get up, you shower, you have breakfast, maybe you read the newspaper, and then you sit down at your desk at 9. That just sort of builds a habit around when you're going to start. You don't have to think about it. You don't want to use your willpower up just starting your day. And then similarly, at the end of the day, if you don't have a schedule, you don't have a hard stop, chances are you're going to probably sit there for longer than you normally would when you're working in the office. And then your home life is going to start suffering. The things you enjoy doing in the evening, you'll just stop doing, and that's going to sort of lead to burnout. So you don't want to fall into that trap. So definitely set a schedule at the end of the day and then build a routine around it. If you used to go to the gym right after work, continue doing that. End at 5 and go to the gym. And then that helps make sure you maintain that work-life balance that is so critical when you're working from home.
Another tip that we learned when it comes to setting boundaries and sticking to a schedule that we learned from author Dan Pink in his book When is to leverage your most productive time of the day. So if you're an early bird like me, you're going to want to start your day earlier and leverage the fact that you have more energy in the morning. If you're a night owl, you want to shift your schedule and adjust so that you're working more in the evening because that's when you have the most energy. You want to experiment and figure out what works best for you and then stick to that schedule. And don't feel like you have to stick to a 9 to 5 or an 8-hour shift. Some people love taking a longer break in the afternoon to have make a big elaborate meal, have their lunch, and then maybe take a nap so that they're rested and recharged. Figure out what works best for you and then stick to that schedule.
Tip number 3 is to set up the right work environment. As you shift to working from home, one of the first things you should do is set up a little area where you can work and concentrate that kind of separates you from the rest of the house. This helps continue to build that separation between your home life and your work life, but it also is really important for your productivity because the more distractions you can remove from where you're going to work, the better. You don't want to have things that would normally draw you away from what you're trying to concentrate on. So if you can set up an area where there's no TV, there's no radio, best if you can close the door, separate yourself from other distractions in the house, the more productive you're going to be. Another important thing to think about is how comfortable are you going to be in this area where you're going to be working. Hey Christy, how's that back pain doing?
Thanks, Mike. It's actually doing a lot better now that I'm not working from the couch anymore. I think I made that classic mistake that everybody makes when they first start working from home, and that is you want to work somewhere comfortable. You think, amazing, I'm working from home, I can work wherever I want, and for most people, that first reaction is I'm going to work from bed or I'm going to work on my couch. Do not do that for 2 reasons. The first is your bed and your couch do not have the proper support for your back. I learned the hard way. I had terrible back spasms. You don't want to experience that, trust me. The second reason is for separation between work and home. So by having a separation, whether it's working in a little office space or a little desk or dining room table, that's where I work, pick somewhere that is separate, that you're going to have some separation between your relaxing time and work time, and you're going to have proper back support.
Tip number 4 is to have a daily check-in with somebody. This is a really great way to make sure that your motivation stays high, that you have some accountability with somebody, but also that you're not falling into that trap of feeling isolated. It's very easy to sort of lose track of people when you're working from home and you're just focused on what you're trying to do. So having a daily call allows you to have a conversation around sort of the challenges and the things that you're working on, and letting somebody else know that is where that accountability comes from, because they can check in with you as your week progresses. And also you can have a bit of a chit chat. You can sort of check in with this person, sort of see what they're up to, what are they doing on the weekend. That helps make sure that you're not feeling isolated. Christy and I have a call every single day. How do those calls help help you, Christy?
Mike, I think the biggest benefit that I get from our daily check-in is just helping with that sanity check or that focus and kind of feeling like part of a team. I definitely notice when Mike's on vacation that I kind of start to slip a little bit. I start work a little bit later. I maybe second guess myself or kind of question myself if I'm focused on the right thing, maybe spin my wheels a little bit. So having that check-in creates that accountability and that opportunity to kind of collaborate and kind of help get unstuck. So we follow the agenda of what was your top priority yesterday? Did you get it done? And if not, why not? Like, were you stuck on something? Did you not prioritize it properly? Second question is, what is your top priority today? And third question is, what are you stuck on, or do you need support on anything? So this just helps create that extra level of accountability, as I mentioned. And if you don't have the opportunity to do a daily check-in with your boss or with a team member or a coworker, do it with a friend. Really, anybody can be your daily check-in buddy.
Tip number 5 is to time block your day. This is a great tactic to drive your motivation because it's sort of like setting little milestones throughout the day. It helps drive your accountability and helps you stay on track with the most important things you need to do.
Time blocking is a great tip whether or not you're working from home. I've been doing it for years and I can't imagine managing my week without it. It really helps build that accountability and get better at estimating time for tasks when you have them blocked off in your calendar. I use my Daylite calendar and then I set different color categories for the different types of tasks. So for example, writing is pink, checking email is gray, and I love doing that. It helps to make sure that I'm prioritizing my week and putting the most important things in there to make sure that they get done and helps avoid distractions.
Tip 6 is to schedule time for breaks. We just came off tip 5 talking about how to time block to help drive your motivation and productivity. It's important to make sure you put some time in that schedule for breaks. Being able to step away from what you're working on and coming back to it fresh has a lot of great benefits for your mind, and it's also really important for your health and your well-being, not to just stay glued to your desk all day long. When you're in the office, you have the luxury of having other people distract you. You have colleagues that can drag you out for lunch or maybe take you for a coffee break, or maybe just come and talk to you for a little bit. And those little moments actually pull you away from what you're working on and give you a chance to take a breather and then sort of reset your head and come back to it a little bit fresh. Christy, you're a bit of a workaholic. How do you make sure that you schedule breaks?
So yeah, I'm a little bit of a workaholic and I definitely fall into the trap of having a hard time reminding myself to step away and take some breaks or eat my lunch. So what I started doing was using my calendar and blocking off reminders for myself to take breaks or have my lunch so that Daylite reminds me. And for breaks, I'll have a coffee or a tea or do like 10 minutes of stretching or just kind of look out the window, which helps relax your eyes so you're not just glued to the screen. It also helps with avoiding like being hunched over at a keyboard if you can do some stretches to kind of open up your chest. Another thing I do is on my lunch break after eating, what I'll do is I'll take my dog for a walk. And I find that when I'm out with a walk for her, I'm kind of not really thinking about work, but it's still a little bit rolling around in there. And that's often when I get some really great ideas. So you have to be your own kind of accountability partner in making sure that you take breaks. But if you schedule them in your calendar, it makes it easy to make sure that you actually take them because you have that little reminder.
Tip number 7 is to continue communicating with your teammates. This is one we can't stress enough, and this is probably one of the biggest challenges that we faced when we moved remote, and that was that people really missed all those organic conversations they were having in the office. You bump into people getting a coffee, you'd have lunch with people, and you have great conversations and stay in touch with everybody when you were doing that. And when you move to working from home, you lose all of that. You don't have those chances to just bump into people and start communicating. You have to be more deliberate about it. So you need to think of ways to make sure that you're still crossing paths with your teammates and having these conversations. Christy, how did we overcome some of these challenges?
So some of the things that we did were, one, making sure that everybody turns on their video when they're having Zoom calls. Initially, some people felt uncomfortable about this, but if Mike can show up to a Zoom call still wearing his house coat, then you can turn your video on and kind of get over that initial, feeling of uncomfortable. It just helps create more of that team spirit or kind of feeling more connected to people when you actually see their face on the other end of the call. Another thing we did was donut chats. So kind of randomly pairing people, and they have a 30-minute Zoom call call with someone that they don't normally interact with, just kind of forcing and looking for opportunities to chat with each other. Another one is virtual lunches. So you could schedule a Zoom call with a colleague or a friend and have your lunch over a Zoom call. It's not as great as doing it in person, but it is a better option than just doing everything on your own. The main thing is that you have to kind of take the ownership yourself of looking for and creating opportunities to connect with people and chat with people, to keep those lines of communication open so that you feel that team spirit, you feel like more like part of the team, even though you're working from home.
Tip number 8 is to focus on the benefits. As you're making this transition to working from home, you're going to be going through a lot of challenges. There is a bit of hardship to getting good at working remotely. It just doesn't come naturally to everybody. And as you're working through some of these struggles, it can start to weigh on you and you can start to maybe get a little bit depressed. So I think from a mindset point of view, it's really important to step back and look at the benefits that you're getting from working remote. It helps put things in perspective and helps reinforce why you're going through this struggle. What are the benefits that are going to be there when you come out the other side and you get really good at working remote? Because with some time and some practice, you will get really good at this, and then you will start to really enjoy the benefits. Christy, what are some of the benefits that we felt when we started going remote?
The things I love most about working from home are not having to commute to and from work, so I don't have to waste time stuck in traffic anymore. I get to have more time in my morning, so I can start whatever time I want. More time to kind of go do my workout, do some yoga, meditate. I don't have to feel like I'm rushing to get to work at a certain time, which is really nice. Also, I like the flexibility, being able to take a longer lunch if I want to. And I find that I get way more done when I'm working from home because I don't have those distractions of people around the office, which it's kind of like, it has its pros and cons, but I think if you focus more on the benefits of it, you can learn to love working from home, even if it's just temporary.
Tip number 9 is to clean your house. We mentioned this previously, that one of the things that can distract you are all the chores that build up and sort of nag at you throughout the day. And some people get so distracted by those that they have to actually stop their work and go and deal with those. So I think really important to set yourself up for success and make sure that everything is tidy and ready to go.
I find what works for me is to pick a day of the week that's kind of my cleaning day, and I usually do that on the weekend, so usually Sunday's my cleaning day, and that way Monday when I start the week, I don't have to worry about, there's dust everywhere, there's dog hair everywhere, because that definitely was a distraction when I first started working from home. So clean, have a tidy workspace, and pick a day of the week that works for you, and if it's on the weekend, that way it just makes it a little bit easier when you're starting your week.
Thanks for watching the video today, guys. We hope that these tips helped you with your transition to working from home. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, subscribe to our channel and hit that little notification bell so you never miss a future video. And let us know in the comments down below, what do you really love about working from home and what do you hate?
And be sure to check out the description below where we'll include a link to another video we did about managing remote teams. So if you're a manager or a small business owner, you're going to want to check that one out. And be sure to follow us on all the social channels if you want more tips on how to take your small business to the next level.